Hello, this is Imani, aka Urban Bush Sister. I got home from work today and my books were here from the Altadena Poetry Review 2019, and I am super excited. I'm going to share my piece in just a moment, but first I wanted to give a shout out and thank you to Poets and Allies for Resistance. Khadija Anderson is the founder, and every year I travel to Pasadena, California, to the Sidewalk Cafe, and I'm just really blessed to be asked to come back and do a reading as one of the two featured poets for the evening. Poets and Allies holds a monthly event at the Sidewalk Cafe in Pasadena, and there's an open mic, and then there are always two features, and it is Khadija's vision and her wish that the two features are always poets of color. And I just really appreciate her efforts. I appreciate having a space to go to in Pasadena and share my work and my heart and my words. And so thank you, Khadija, and shout out to Poets and Allies for Resistance. At my last feature, I met a young poet, a teacher in LA, and she was also poet laureate for Altadena, one of two poet laureates for 2018, and her name is Teresa Murick, and I was blown away by her deeply nature-rooted poetry, the honesty in her poetry, and I learned at that event that they were taking submissions for this version right here, 2019, and I submitted and was blessed to have one of my pieces accepted, so I'm going to share that now. It is called Sadie's Plight. She just left the fields after 14 hours of back-breaking, cotton-picking, bare feet aching, back bent, exhausted. Cyrus walked next to her equally as barefoot while trying to woo her. At her cabin, she took note of the cracker sitting there in dirty overalls and boots worn at the heel. Sir Overseer come by for some black love. Only she doesn't see it that way. It's rape every time. As dog-tired as she is from working in the fields in the sweltering sun for free, she knows no one will help her. Cyrus looks on as the woman he wants is led away by the cracker, who works for the cracker, who owns them all. The devil pulls her black kinky hair while calling her all types of nigger bitches. She floats away from this place that's filled with hate, where year after year her body is assaulted, and filled with babies who will repeat her lot. If only she had the courage to reach over onto the night table, grab the knife, and plunge it deeply into the rapist's back. Sadie's Plight is for the ancestors. It is for every black woman and child who has been forced to perform sexual favors, i.e. rape because somebody thinks that they owned you, or just because somebody thinks that they want to own you. And from slavery, many black women, in order to continue to eat and to keep some type of shelter over their families' heads, worked as domestics. And the exact thing happened to a lot of those women that happened during slavery. They were raped, their daughters were raped, and in other cases, their sons were raped. If the person who this black woman worked for decided that she was going to be a sexual object for his pleasure, that is what happened. Who was she going to tell, first of all, outside of her family, and get any type of compassion? She couldn't go to the law because a black person could not file on or take a white person to court for a crime. Think about that. Think about that in 1862 terms, and think about it now in 2019 terms. We have a president, a commander-in-chief, if you will, who has no problem with the idea of grabbing women by the pussy. We live in a world where egos are fragile, and there is a continued patriarchy that allows men to believe that they have a right to a woman's body, to her personage, to whether she breathes or not, even. And as the clock is turning back on women's rights and just human and social rights for everyone, where everyone should be afforded these things, women in 2019 are looking at laws that will make them criminals if they decide to terminate a pregnancy, even if that pregnancy is putting them in harm's way, physically, emotionally, mentally. So whether one is living with an illness where they are not able to conceive a healthy child, and this is, they understand this, and this is then proven through tests that there is going to be severe complications with the pregnancy, that the mother may lose her life, and that the child may be severely deformed or just not able to develop properly in the womb. And a mother is now chastised for making the decision and choosing to terminate that pregnancy. So I just want to say that a woman's body is hers. And I don't know if it's the ancestors that surround me that won't allow me to be quiet about this, or my remembrance of them and what they went through and the struggles that they went through just to live and to breathe. We're not even talking about, everything that they had to do to sustain their families. Imagine, if you will, going to work and having your employer demand sex of you. Demand it. And you are the sole provider for your family. And also then imagine having to deal with that and having no legal recourse whatsoever. Whatsoever. And that is why Sadie's plight needed to be written in remembrance of the ancestors, in honor of the ancestors, and just to understand that we have to talk about this. It is as relevant today as it was for Sadie during slavery. As a poet, as a woman, as a black woman, as a black queer woman, like all of my intersections matter, and nothing matters more than me keeping my mental health together, right? And so these are things that we don't talk about in black families. For the Sadies, the great granddaughters of Sadie, who may have all experienced down through the generations sexual trauma on some level. Because it's really hard for me to talk about Sadie being abused by this overseer and dismiss the fact that girls, black girls, are being abused at home, are being abused at relatives' homes. And it's, 4th of July is next week, and so folks are going to be gathering and doing their thing, and there are going to be barbecues and lots of grown-up activity. And I'm just going to throw my hashtag out here, which is hashtag who's looking out for Keisha, because it's all relevant and it all ties together for me. If the adults are all playing cards and drinking, and it's been going on all day, and now it's 10 o'clock at night, and the kids are starting to come in from the backyard, because the barbecue, that could start at 12 in the afternoon and go all night, right? They're starting to come into the house, tinkle in. I'm asking that people, that the adults, folks who are in charge, stay lucid enough, stay sober enough to pay attention. People sneak off to the basement. They get called upstairs. They get called into the den if everybody else is outside. By someone that may not have their best interest in mind. By someone who's been plotting on seeing what little Keisha's about for, the last 3 holiday gatherings. It happens. It happened to me. And it happens to far too many of our girls. So that is the background on Sadie's plight. It's also a call to action right now. I'm kind of begging at this point that adults do better. You know who the person or the people are that have an eye for teenagers, I said it. You also know who might be on a little something else, and they don't mind if it's a teenager or just someone who looks like they may be a teenager. She could be 8 or 9 or 10. Y'all know that our kids are developing breasts and hips extra early now, in part due to their diet and all of this fast food and these hormones, because we won't do what we need to do as a community, just across the line, so that everybody has a basic understanding of the necessity of planting your own and growing your own food, so you know what you're eating. Man, it's just all, so much of this is just tied into everything. I could probably pull 4 essays just from what I talked about right now in the last 14 minutes and 55 seconds. Could probably come up with 5 more poems just on the topics of where we are and what we need to be doing and why. I did not, as a child, receive counseling for the sexual trauma that I lived with and through. And as a result of that, I went through a lot, trying to find myself, trying to understand who I am, why did this happen to me, by a family member. That's why I say, check out who's in the backyard and keep your eye on them. You know who's who. They make inappropriate remarks about kids. And if they're not checked, they think that shit is okay. And they're going to come back and do it again. And then the next thing you know, it's a little touch. Or he's hemming her up in the kitchen. Or when she's coming out of the bathroom. It cost me a lot of time. It cost me a lot of years. It cost me a lot of everything. And I will not stand by and watch any child be mistreated. And certainly not in that way. This could go on with the number of babies being murdered out here by mom's boyfriend. Lived that too. I married him, and luckily got out with my life and the lives of my children. I just do not stand for foolishness like that, abuse, disrespect on any level. And when I married him, that was my second marriage. I then had a third one. Still didn't know myself quite well enough. But now that I do, it is possible that I will be single for the rest of my life because I am unwilling to put up with bullshit where people just don't deal in basic respect. And children have the right to respect too. They have a right to their bodies not being touched. So I'm going to ask that when y'all barbecuing next week, if your baby does not wish to give somebody a hug, some adult, don't make them. They have a right to say no. As an adult, don't you? I do. So don't make them feel bad about that. They have the right to have autonomy over their bodies and not be touched and not be kissed on the cheek and not be hugged up if they don't want to be. Period.